Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Hello and welcome. Today we're talking about technical profiles for data scientists. So, as usual, we have 25 minutes. I've prepared something for you that you can look at while I speak, but I'm also going to speak to it so that actually audio would be enough. So if you've just got it in your ears, you can listen to that, and that will do for you. And we're going to be looking at a technical profile that you can use on LinkedIn or CV. So, what is a technical profile? Technical profile is where you get to show your technical skills, where you get to show what technical skills you've actually already mastered, what you've been using daily, what you're good at, and also to kind of explain who you are professionally in this technical sense. It says here data scientist. So these technical profiles are examples for data scientists. They're not, for example, about a machine learning engineer or a computer vision engineer or a data analyst. So your technical profile also always says something about the data role that you're in. And that is actually really important. So a good technical profile will always make clear what your preferred role is and what role you're seeking. So it cuts, of course, both ways. Yeah. What's your preferred role in the sense of where you are, where you might want to go, but also, of course, what kind of experience that you have that makes you an expert in that particular role. So this is about data scientists and your technical profile. And then it says here LinkedIn or CV. So what this is about. This is really about your career and your career opportunities. Those career opportunities may be in your existing company. They may be with colleagues in your existing company. They may also, of course, be about new opportunities that you're looking for or that you need to find. Both is absolutely fine. But I do want to make clear that your technical profile is relevant. It's relevant for promotions, is relevant for moving up or sideways in the company that you are, just as it is relevant when you're looking for new opportunities in another company, or you're planning to go freelance and you have to talk to clients and so on and so on. So, by way of introduction, let's look at an example quickly. So, this is the technical skills profile of a data science lead. These profiles aren't made up. These profiles emerge through interaction with practitioners. So in this case, through interaction with the data science lead, whose specific technical profile this is. So it's always an example, anonymized, but it's always an example of a person that is on the labor market. By the way, after doing this technical skills profile here for the data science lead, the person that we're talking about got hired by one of the big three players in the field of data and AI. So what do you see here? At the top, technical skills, just really quick highlight, the number of experiences, 5+ years, Python, SQL, GraphQL, Java, CI, CD. So this is kind of like, the highlighter. It immediately says how many years of experience there are, so also what level, without now saying at that point, it says above data science lead, so that is the existing role. And here it kind of quantifies it in terms of number of years, and then gives an indication of programming languages, but here also CI/CD. GraphQL is something special, so that's also actually, because it's something special, worth mentioning here. Quick highlight. Okay, then the next you see is data, machine learning, and document processing. And here you go. So a technical skills profile actually shows and structures your technical skills. It shows and structures your technical skills in the sense of allowing the reader at a glance to understand what it is that you do, what it is that you want to do. Okay. And just as it's important to pick those concepts well, data, machine learning, document processing, you can now, if you're in the field, also immediately understand that there are a lot of keywords that didn't get used here. Okay. So it says document processing, not computer vision. Okay. It says machine learning, not data science. It says data in a broad sense, and then to say, data engineering, data mining, data analysis. This also comes with the fact that we're dealing with somebody who's a data science lead, who would then say that they architected and supervise the data engineering, the data mining, and the data analysis. Of course, if you're a lead, you have line management responsibilities. There's a team, there are other people working with you, and you will have 2, 3, 4, 5 dedicated data engineers or analysts. And it will be your responsibility as a lead to architect, supervise, make improvements, help your team do this job better, and so on and so on. So that's why data here is general. And then the particular expertise is in machine learning. And then the company that he was working for, um, uh, document processing was the key function of the data stuff that they were doing. Okay, so I said this is an example, n equals 1, and we have built such examples drawn from the 1,900 specialists that are members of the AI Guild that work in all kinds of roles, from data analytics to ML ops. They typically work for a company. Some members are also freelance. A lot of the members are senior, lead, director. Some are VP, some are CDO or CTO. So we also benefit from the fact that our members work at different levels of the career and have different kinds of experiences. So today we're talking about the data scientist, and I think this is important in the sense that something that has changed over the past 5 years is that data roles have become more specialized, they have become more specific, and therefore it absolutely makes sense to figure out which data role is for you, to understand whether you're a data analyst, a data scientist, a machine learning engineer, and so on. And there are ways to discuss, and if you have questions, you can simply ask your questions and I will respond to those. There are ways to discuss this and look at this, but in a very simplified kind of way. You could say that the whole field of data analytics, of course, means that you handle a lot of data, you do interesting stuff with the data, but at the end of the day, humans make some decisions. Yeah, it's about reporting, it's about dashboards, it's about business insights, and they lead to hopefully better, improved, or new decisions. If we talk data science, again, you have a lot of data, you do a lot of interesting stuff with that, but actually, at the end of the day, you want a machine to make decisions. So think of the simple use case of a recommender system. So the data scientist, she builds models, these models get deployed, and it's actually the machines making the decision, so showing the customer recommendations. And then there are these other roles like machine learning engineer or computer vision engineer or ML ops or maybe even data engineer that also typically now all carry the role engineering in it. That also says that there is an expectation of more programming experience, maybe even a computer science background, although not necessarily so. But there is, more programming, more software experience that goes into this role, as perhaps needs to be there for a data analyst or a data scientist. So you need to look at your career, you need to look at your aspirations, and you need to figure out which data role is for you moving forward. And I think you can probably switch once or twice, but you can't switch indefinitely. What doesn't work any longer is the fantasy that the data person is Michelangelo or Leonardo da Vinci, so to speak. And actually, I was thinking of Leonardo da Vinci, so that you're the Leonardo, and one day you can be a computer vision engineer, and next year you're going to be an NLP expert, and in the third year you're going to do ML ops. There are data roles, it's getting more specialized, and you need to figure out which one it is that you are getting specialized in. So technical profile is an important part overall of thinking about your LinkedIn profile or your CV or resume. And I'm showing you this to say technical profile is not the same as your business skills. It's also not necessarily the same as your data experience, and it's also not your professional mission. So the technical profile is really just a technical profile as per this example. And then other areas on your LinkedIn profile or your CV need to provide the other stuff. Today, it's just technical profiles, and we have other events that focus on the other stuff. So it's really about guiding your reader, okay? So you use headlines for comprehension at a glance. I'm showing you some example here, but the more general point is, no matter whether we're talking about a senior manager in your company or just your team or your colleagues in the company, maybe your team and colleagues in your company at another location that will also be looking at your LinkedIn profile or perhaps an internal database, they want you to present the information so that they can get it at a glance. And at a glance means, in 60 seconds or less, a first impression, a first good impression that tells me what your technical skills profile is, what you've done, and how it kind of adds up, how it all comes together. So these really, really helps you to guide your reader, and in a really important sense, structure what they perceive and how they perceive you and what they think about your technical skills profile. So on to another example. Um, Here at the top, you have uh, again a quick list that includes Python, shell scripting, SQL, and it then actually makes clear, that SQL is newer, 2022 it says here, whereas Python is 5 years. Then it does actually list for Python some of the tools and libraries, just to make clear which ones we're talking about. And then also points out quickly that the person has already co-published a piece of software. Okay, so this is just the general experience, level of experience, programming experience. And then it says here data acquisition and instrumentation, data processing, and data science. Actually, you're looking at a profile of somebody that made a transition from an academic career to a data career. And that's also why it says here data acquisition and instrumentation, because then if you look at it, NMR, nuclear magnetic resonance, uniform sampling, equipment troubleshooting, and so on, molecular biology wet lab. Okay, these are, some there could also be an NMR in a health or hospital context, but the equipment and the instrumentation that we're looking at is academic. But you've done data acquisition and instrumentation, so if you've done it once, you can do it again somewhere else. Then data processing, web scraping, database APIs, so that data normalization, so the basics of it. And then data science, linear regression, model fitting, feature engineering, clustering, and so on. So it actually describes certain steps of the value chain. Yeah, the linear regression, of course, is a particular model, but model fitting, feature engineering, clustering, dimensionality reduction. So basically, this technical profile says, when it comes to data science and building models, I have actually done all of the steps that are required to build a model. I don't have a lot of industry experience, so I can't show you some, data science models that went into production. But I actually do command most of the interesting steps that are required in this value chain. This is what this profile says. So on to the next one, another example here for you. Technical skills, right at the top, Python, SQL, Tableau, Stata. Then it says data science, machine learning, and statistics and inference. So this is very different than the one that I showed you, which had an emphasis on the data processing a lot. So this one here then for data science makes clear that the main experience in working with this was in the language R, not in Python, but that Python has also been there for a year and a half. Okay. And then for machine learning, it shows here regression, classification, time series, NLP. So rather than say elements of the value chain of building a model, it shows here a certain variety of tasks and a certain variety of handling data to achieve an outcome. That's why you have, for example, time series data and natural language processing, which would mean it's text or speech data. So to show that there is a certain expertise in machine learning, and then statistics and inference to underline, so to speak, the numeracy and the fact that there's a high level of understanding and ability to interpret stuff and also to fix stuff, or to understand if the model is of a good quality or if the statistics have been done right, and so on and so on. So this is really about quality assurance. If you have that kind of background and you can show that, then I think this is pretty valuable. Yet another example for you. In this case, somebody has technical skills that also are public. So there's a GitHub profile and a code sample that you can look at. If you have that and the code sample and the profile are really neat and clean, it actually is an idea to make those available and point people to them. It is not actually that somebody within those 60 seconds will likely make a decision to go and look at it, but it does exist as a backup. And if there's an interview or a conversation around promotion or whatever it is, you can, of course, use that during those conversations and make people look at it. 7 years Python, again with packages and libraries. Data manipulation and visualization, SQL, Tableau, Matplotlib, Seaborn. So the interesting thing here is to show that the variety, from SQL to Matplotlib, including Tableau. Then machine learning algorithms, deep learning frameworks, and software practices. So this is somebody that is saying that they have a substantial software practice background, programming experience, not just in languages, but also with workflows. That their focus really is on the machine learning algorithms, and here it's on the algorithms, not as on machine learning as such. So it does make sense sometimes if you have a strength to be specific. Okay, you can see here different versions of regression analysis, different versions of time series analysis, Bayesian inference. So a variety of this in depth, and then deep learning gets mentioned, but it gets mentioned as deep learning framework. So this is familiarity with TensorFlow and Keras and PyTorch, without then claiming that one is a deep learning engineer or a deep learning practitioner, but there is experience and knowledge around this. And if you think again about the 60 seconds, what do I see here in 60 seconds? So my eyes gets pulled into the machine learning algorithms and my eyes get pulled into the software practice. That's what I see. I also quickly see, okay, they're familiar with data manipulation and visualization. There's a variety there, and they know what deep learning is. Okay, good. But it's and I now have an idea. I have an idea of somebody that is working as a machine learning engineer or highly suitable as a machine learning engineer. Precisely because they bring this combination of experience with the algorithms and the software practices. Okay, next up, this question of indicating your proficiency. So you can, with your technical skills profile or above your technical, it will say somewhere data scientist, senior data scientist, data science lead, and so on and so on. So these things will be there. And then the question is of indicating your proficiency. So this is interesting to your reader always. They want to know for how long you've been doing this, particularly for how long you've been doing this regularly. Okay, so if you're thinking like 2 years, 5 years, 7 years, what is it? Well, if you've only been doing it once a month, then this isn't actually regular. If it's on a daily basis, it obviously is regular. If it's weekly, you need to look at it. And the point is, by saying 2 years or 4 years or 1 year, the point is not to actually, in this sense, say since 2018, but to say I have 4 years worth of experience. The 4 years may be in 4 years, but the 4 years could also be in 6 years. But you're kind of like clarifying that you've been practicing this regularly for 4 years. There may have been a break or a gap for whatever reason, but that. And another practitioner in the field would then have certain expectations about what you can do after 2 or 4 years. So that is really helpful and actually the fastest way of indicating your proficiency. And a better one than saying since year X. The other thing that I've seen frequently people use is try to use a dot system. Sometimes also the dot system is for language proficiency, as in English, Hindi, Mandarin, German, Italian, Spanish, something like this. You can use it, but it only works if you rigorously simplify it. So the example that you see here is just based on 3 dots. And the reasoning behind it is 3 dots means you're proficient, 2 dots means you're good. If you would only give yourself 1 dot, delete the skill you're learning. Why like this? Because it's easier to read. If you think about a 5 dot or a 7 dot system, and you can go and look at examples if you like, you will see that, so what's the difference between 3 and 4 dots? Yeah, so it's harder. It's harder to do this at a glance, and your reader actually really appreciate if you simplify. Okay, here's a final example of precisely such a dot-based system, just to show it to you and to show how it works. Actually, this technical skills profile is a bit older. This is like we did this 5 years ago, but the person got hired as a data analyst and now works as a data scientist. So you see here this simple system for data science, statistics, programming, and even operating systems. you wouldn't do that today any longer. This is not really necessary. But there you go. You have an example: 2 dots, 3 dots, somebody switching from physics to data analytics. Okay, and the final example for today. Here, data science right at the top, saying 4+ years of Python with pandas, NumPy, Matplotlib, and so on. Then some newer skills in web scraping, 4 years of regression, then extension of machine learning competencies, databases, and deployment. This is, so to speak, this well-rounded profile that you also get these days when you specifically do online courses or go and visit a boot camp and you kind of get prepared for this role. Then this actually looks similar. In this particular instance, this is a profile actually where somebody did that, and you can probably guess that this was in 2020, this kind of upskilling, upgrading. But the profile was done a little bit later, when the person already had first industry experience. So this is like a mid-level profile. Okay, if you've liked what you've heard so far, then every Monday morning at 8 a.m. Central European Time, GMT +1, we publish stuff around data careers on Medium. The publication is called Fluid in Data. You can go and find it. You can subscribe to it, and then every Monday morning at 8, you will be notified and able to read something that's hopefully interesting for you. And the final comment is that the AI Guild has a website, theguild.ai, but also exists on LinkedIn. And if you're not yet a member but would like to join, you can do so by signing up to the AI Guild. Okay, that's it from me for today. Our 25 minutes are nearly over. Thank you very much for being here. Enjoy your Friday.